All right. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to our training on Saturday, September 19th. My name is Stephen Keller, and we're going to be going over today, first starting with the real basics of the device, what it does, how to troubleshoot things, how to use it. Our business is really built on primarily this freaky product. Like our US manager says, this is the best product in the marketplace in network marketing. Stunning thing, and I'm going to give you a little bit of my background and then some suggestions on how to use it properly and go from there. So my background is I've spent about 25 years in holistic health. Kind of started from my mom beating breast lymphatic and uterine cancer about 25 years ago holistically. I got very into health and nutrition. I got excited about how fun it was to take a simple technology and radically impact people's lives who were not getting results previously. And I had a lot of fun doing that. And at first it was with some cool supplements. Then someone taught me how to do muscle testing, and I got pretty good at that. And I became an emotion code and body code practitioner. Just think using the ability to muscle test to do what much of the Healy will do for you in terms of figure out what's wrong with people and change their frequency and energy and see radical shifts. For example, I've had a client I started working with about a year ago who, when we started, she could maybe eat cottage cheese. That's about it. And was in a wheelchair, and just changing the frequency that she operated in, she's doesn't need a wheelchair and she eats whatever she wants to. So what happened is, I get great results as a practitioner, but I'm always felt I had a moral obligation to empower people as much as I could, even if it meant that they didn't use me anymore as a practitioner. And when I saw the Healy, I thought, I think this could do that. And certainly it has. And so I'm going to give you some very basic explanations. Then we're going to go into like the level one, how do you actually use the device? I want to make sure this is initially resources for people just coming on, okay? So the way I would explain the Healy is this. This is a German medical device, and it does a couple things, okay? On one hand, you can connect this device to straps and in here and use microcurrent programs. And there are more than 120 different programs on the device that you can use for a very wide range of things. And, for example, I take these and I attach it to my wrist. So these microcurrent programs are solidly resting in what we call Newtonian physics, okay? And as such, it's not super difficult to understand how they work. They can be fairly predictable. And based on that type of approach, we have a class 2 medical certification from the FDA. Okay, so people understand that pretty good. Now, this device does so much more on top of that. It has inside it something called a quantum mirror. What is a quantum mirror? In our world, we live in a world run on quantum physics, okay? And it means that ultimately everything is information, right? And I'm not going to try and give a quantum physics lecture because I don't understand it that well, but it's super cool still. In quantum physics, the information field is what impacts then the physical realm, okay? And this device has a quantum sensor in it, which means that it can read people's frequency and energy, and it can give you recommendations on what programs to use, okay? And it can also deliver benefit by frequency and vibrational medicine as well. So what does a quantum mirror do, or a Kozharov mirror? It's a Russian invention. The way I would explain it is this quantum mirror stands, say if this stands in the middle, and say for example, here's my Healy program, and I'm over here, okay? And the Healy will run a frequency at me, okay? And the quantum mirror stands in the middle to see how I'm responding. So this frequency goes in here, how does Steve respond? And does it like hundreds of thousands of frequencies, okay? And based on that, quickly sees what and how I respond to, okay? And then can give you really freaky recommendations on very wide range of things. In fact, what we find is this device can make an impact spirit, soul, and body, okay? And in understanding that, one thing you want to know is that everything has a frequency. Love has a frequency, hate has a frequency, good skin has a frequency, right? Good eyesight has a frequency, energy has a frequency. You know, when we run a liver program for you, we use 1,000 different frequencies to impact your liver, okay? Now, in general, that sounds very complicated, and it is, but the beauty of this device is it the ability to take a simple app and as a novice, press a button and follow the instructions, okay? Now, it can get a little bit more complicated than that, but at its very basics, it can be simply that simple, okay? So the first thing I want to talk about is, goodness, let's be from the very, 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 very basics on this product, okay? When you get this device here, you'll also get a charging cord, okay? And you'll notice one thing, you see the charging port in here, okay? You'll want to not force it in there, okay? So when I put it in there, I want to put it gently in there. It is rare to break it, but it is possible, okay? If I can actually get it to work in there. Now, what I find sometimes is different charging cords go in there a little smoother, okay? Sometimes I find the ones from Healy aren't as easy to stick in as other ones. Hold on, let me pull this out here and I'll show you what I do personally. All right, so here's a simple recommendation. If you see on this charging cord, I put a little colored thing on it, right? The reason for that is I know that if I stick that colored side up, boom, I don't have to fumble around with which side, okay, which side am I getting in? Especially like if your eyesight isn't as good as what it used to be. Now, I will say that my eyesight has actually radically improved since using Healy. And if we had been doing this training at the beginning of my Healy career, I would be wearing reading glasses right now because my eyes would get tired looking at the computer, different things like that. So that's one thing to start off with. Some people say only charge it for 2 or 3 hours, okay? I wouldn't overcharge it. You can use the resonance device, and we'll go into that. You can run scans while it's plugged in, and you can also run vibrational programs for people while it's plugged in. But you notice the way the charger is set up is that I cannot both charge and plug things in for microcurrents at the same time, okay? So when putting the microcurrent cords in, you just want to do it nice and gentle, okay? My dad has a device, I think he forced it in, and one of these in here, the surface of the connection kind of got sheared off a bit. So you want to just very gently put those in, okay? So if I'm just starting off on my Healy experience, maybe I don't have a resonance, okay? I'm going to go over some resources that you can use, okay? One of the things I've done is to try and make a centralized place for information for you, okay? And in this training, we're going to be going over a bit of not just the information itself, but where to get it, okay? So that you can, so that you don't have to take this training and explain it to other people. You can take this training and the tools, and you can simply share the tools, okay? And that's something you always want to do if you're building a business. You don't want to be the source of information for your downline. You want to always point them to the original source, okay? So you don't want to share the information as much as you want to point them to the conference call, point them to the document, point them to the Zoom, so that the information itself isn't degraded, right? It stays in its original form instead of one person to the next, to the next, to the next, and pretty soon at the end, it look anything like the original. So let me pull up, all right. So I'm gonna screen share here and I will show you what I mean. So if we go into www.healyfaq.com for frequently asked questions, what you'll notice on here is there pretty much anything you might need is on here, okay? For example, if I just got my Healy and I'm like, okay, using my Healy, right? Here's where I would start, okay? There's a YouTube playlist, which will show you on how to use your Healy. For example, when I originally got my resonance, I didn't even take it out of the box, okay? I did a, so hold on a second here. All right. I did a video straight from the box and I recorded the whole thing and I did it with my business partner who's been like a practitioner with these type of devices and had a lot of experience on it. So I went step by step by step, really simple on how to set up the resonance. In here, you'll also find out how to use your Healy Gold device, everything like that, okay? So, and I am always, if I find something else that's very helpful, I will add it to that playlist, okay? For example, very recently, someone shared how you can reset your master key. A deeper dive into, you know, what the numbers mean, an understanding of the science behind the frequency device. This is actually an interesting one. You know, I just shared super briefly on the difference between microcurrents and vibrational programs, okay? And I'm not gonna go into really much deeper than that because this video that I grabbed, just this 22-minute portion from the actual inventor, Marcus Schmieke, goes into a ton of detail on that, and it's excellent, okay? So if we go back to the very basics, Healy has a First Steps PDF, okay? Which goes into the very basics. Welcome your Healy business, accessories, how to download the app. This gentleman right here is Nuno Nina. Okay, he's the Portuguese practitioner who developed most of the microcurrents we use, the core ones, especially on the Gold program. So you have a lot of resources right there on First Steps. Okay, there's also the device manual, easily linked from this page. And the device manual, this, one thing to understand about this is this specific device manual, it goes into a little more detail actually than the one you would find in your US back office. And there's a reason for that. In the US, we have different regulatory restrictions because of the FDA. And as a result, our manual and how you are told to use the device is a little different than the original. That's especially true regarding ear clips. If you are in other countries, your device will come with ear clips because certain programs are optimized being connected right here, okay? Now, the thing to understand is with the FDA, we don't have clearance to run microcurrent programs across your brain, okay? Can't do it, can't tell people that they can do it, okay? We just say, so the program recommendations are a little bit different, okay? Now, a side note, I will say that the amount of times that you actually need to use, would need to use ear clips is pretty low. It is mostly with things in the mental balance program. And there's a couple different ways to know what the best thing to do is, right? One of them is when you see in the actual Healy program itself, and I will share this with you. So let me share screen from my actual device here. Change the security. So this is my phone, and this is the folder that I have my all my Healy programs on, right? So the way this is divided is the pink program, which is the regular Healy program, is for using microcurrents, right? Programs like that. The blue app is called the Heal Advisor Analyze app. That is for your resonance. I wish they named it something different. They didn't. Why? Because it analyzes you, okay? So that's the blue app. The Heal Advisor app is where anything that I subscribe to is in, and the Healy Watch program is to use the watch. But when we pull up the Healy program here, okay, I'm gonna make sure it connected to my device. And hopefully that will connect easily. Connect it again. Actually, let me see. Okay. I'm going to make sure that all the other programs are closed on my phone. And maybe we'll have an experience of how you work through it not wanting to connect. So I've pushed the button a couple times. I can see that it's on because the light is blinking. Sometimes just pushing the power button again gets it to work. And what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to close that program, and I'm going to I'll show you this a little closer. I'm going to press what I'm going to do is I'm going to press and hold this power button, and you have to put for a small device, you have to put a surprising amount of force on that power button. And I'm going to hold it for 20 seconds until the light goes solid green like that, right? All right. And now I'm going to press, now that all the lights are off, so I'm going to press the power button again, make sure it's turned on and is blinking at me. And I'm going to go back to my Healy app here. And interesting enough, I've been using this device all morning, no problem. Look, it connected that time. So now, one thing, if you're brand new to your device, okay, occasionally what will happen is, you see I have all this program list here. If instead of your device looking like this initially, if it's just blue and it just has one app on it, a lot of people are like, hey, look, I don't have any programs on it, okay? And I'm actually not going to update the program because it's working right now. If you don't have any programs on yours, you're going to want to go down into settings, and you want to go to check for updates, and it will upload the new version of the app. Now, one thing I want to say about all the updates in this device and everything is with any type of device, you're going to have issues with updates and it not working properly occasionally, right? If you Google iOS update problems in Google, you will find 243 million hits on the internet on people having issues with their update on their smartphone, right? Anyone know anyone who owns a iPhone that they are so leery of ever getting the update? They like put it off and put it off and put it off, right? Anyone know anyone like that? Because they're like, they're afraid that they're convinced that Apple programs their phone to start running slower when it gets older, forcing them to buy a new device, right? There's a lot of people out there who believe that. My wife puts off her updating her phone over and over and over, okay? And so sometimes we have issues like that with the Healy device. After updates, people complain it's not working, okay? We recently had an update, and I'm thinking I'm just gonna cancel this right now. We recently had an update that did that, okay? And then another update that fixed some of it. So keep in mind, as you do it, you'll probably run into to problems like that occasionally, where all of a sudden it's not working. What happened? There are a couple things you can do to fix that. Sometimes doing this multiple times in a row, which would seem weird that you would have to do it if it didn't work the first time, that it might work the third time, but there's just the way technology works sometimes. It's kind of weird. Sometimes it's restarting your phone, uninstalling, reinstalling the app, rebooting the device multiple times. And sometimes people say, hey, when I do that, the first time it didn't work, the second time it didn't work, the third time, and the fourth time, all of a sudden, boom, my wife's device is working great now. Okay, so sometimes what you have to do is just kind of fiddle with it. That makes sense? And if you're super technically challenged, find a teenager and say, hey, this is how you reboot it. This is the app. Can you play around with this, restarting it, uninstalling, reinstalling till you get it to work? And that'll probably take them 5 minutes where you would have like took you an hour and wanted to hurt somebody. Okay. So we're back to the programs listed on my Healy Gold. Actually, this is not a gold. It's a resonance. So what it does is has all the programs. Now, one thing you'll notice, it has all the programs. It also has the digital nutrition programs, and has some of the Healy, reading the different Healy Watch programs as well. So when you first get your device, a lot of people are super confused on, hey, what program should I use? Okay. And a lot of times, here's one thing to think about. Different types of people start using this device, okay? Some people, when they start using their Healy, they are quite ill. And they're super frustrated being ill because they're not as productive in life. And they are very impatient to get better, okay? And you can run into issues with these people. The healing with the Healy should be a very slow, subtle progress, okay? Some people want to jumpstart that by, one, running too many programs initially, or number two, running the programs at too high a frequency, okay? So if I have someone who I just sold the device to who's got all sorts of wacky health issues, I might say, hey, look, start off super slow, okay? Maybe just run the Pure program out of the Gold Cycle, and we'll show you where that is. And some people have to go much slower, okay? If you have somebody who is over the top sensitive, like they say, oh yeah, like I'm super sensitive, I have to be really careful, I can only take a little bit of supplements, and I start detoxing. If you're having a lot of conversations with them like that, have them start super slow. One good resource for that actually is it's a Facebook group called Frequencies for Lymes, because people with Lymes, everything's super weird for them, okay? I think Tiffany can raise her hand, yes. She had Lymes and recovered from it. Awesome job, by the way. So a lot of these people, they can't use normal protocols, okay? And so if you have someone like that you just sold a Healy to, it's a very good idea to tell them that up front, rather than on the back end when they feel super ill because they ran 5 programs in one day at 80%. Okay. better for them to get a better understanding of that. Now, one additional resource that you can use that I posted in here is, we go back to right here, number 6, a great tutorial on how to use your Healy in the first 5 weeks. Okay. And I linked directly to an ebook. This woman is she's a practitioner. She's a Healy distributor, also a Time Waver practitioner. Time Waver is just the parent company of Healy, where they have larger devices like this that have to be connected to a computer that cost $10,000 to $30,000 that require extensive training to use. Okay, so her one second here. Her program here for all of $10 is great because it says, hey, here's some very basic step-by-step protocol you might do in your first 5 weeks. Here's what programs to run. Now, this is especially helpful for someone who doesn't have a resonance. Here's different things you could do if you're super sensitive, okay, on how to actually run vibrations into water, different things like that. So I know some people have, I know Lori, you've taken some of her courses and you felt it was very helpful, didn't you? Right. So the funny thing is there are people in my business and my downline probably pretty soon like Lori who actually know more pretty soon about this device because they're super into it, right? If you want the basics, the simple, very basic stuff on how to explain it, I'm your guy. Sometimes for people asking more technical stuff, I'm like, I haven't really gotten that into it. Go ask somebody else and I'll tell you where to go. So this is a great resource for you on that. One thing I'm realizing is we have to go back and talk a bit about the original Healy manual, okay? And I got distracted, I apologize. I'll try and keep on track. So we talked a bit about why I put a link for the original Healy manual where if you go into your back office, you can download the US manual, okay? That's because of some of the pain programs or some of the mental programs, okay? We're talking about some of the programs that are used best if they're going across your brain, okay? Now, we'll show you exactly what I mean. So if we go into, for example, mental, okay, and I'm trying to remember which mental program, Contentment Acute, okay. So for example, if I decided to use this program, Contentment Acute, it says, hey, it says electrodes next to the affected area. Current can be slightly noticeable, okay? So if I'm not happy in my brain, why is it telling me to put the sticky pads on my upper back? That doesn't make any sense. It's a hint. It's like, this is as close a recommendation as they can give to you without telling you to use ear clips or to put the sticky pads on the back of your mastoid bones. Does that make sense? So now, if you're using the resonance scan, it's fairly rare that programs will come up where you actually need to put it on your ears or behind your mastoid bones. So if you go back to the original manual, okay, and if I looked at, let's see here, we're going to find out supporting frequencies, operating it. This goes into tons of details, okay? Gives detailed information about all the different programs, what they're designed to do, different things like that. And I'm looking for what page the, so on all the programs, what it says is it says where to put it. See, BE says bracelet electrodes, okay? AE, so for this exhaustion acute, it says put it on the on your temples. How would you do that? You do that with sticky pads, okay? But if you're in the US and you have US manual and a US version of the Healy Pink app, it's not going to give you, it's not going to tell you to put it on your temples because the FDA doesn't allow you to do that. Does that make sense? So anytime you see in the Pink app it telling you recommendations on the upper back, you can go to yourself, I wonder if we'll be better off with ear clips or with sticky pads. Now on it, and we'll find down here, say right here, it says on AE on mastoid, okay? What does that mean? Adhesive electrodes on your mastoid bones or ear electrodes. So on your mastoid bones, what are we talking about? So I'm talking about right behind my ear, right? There's a bone there that I can put a sticky pad on, okay? So a lot of people are super worked up. They're like, how do I find ear clips? I'm like, honestly, number one, it's so rare that you need them. And personally, I wouldn't recommend anyone bothering to get them. If you do want them, you can go on the FAQ page, and there is the accessory page here. And this Florida Research business has different things that you can use, including ear clips. I have some super nice ear clips from these people. They're super expensive. I hardly use them. When I use them, they sting. They like, ow, it kind of hurts. I feel it too much. I don't even use them. If I have a program like that that I need to run, I use the sticky pads on my mastodones. Much more comfortable than the ear clips. I think you can maybe get felt things over the ear clips so they don't zap you too much. But this is a place where you can get different TENS compatible accessories. Okay, and if you'll notice on the accessory page, it will tell you that it needs to be 2mm female TENS connection is what you need. Okay. Anyways, so going back to the device itself. So if you you have just gotten your Healy and you're like, okay, I want to run the program, cool. I'm going to show you exactly what that looks like. So first thing I would do is I would pull up into the gold programs on the top here, because this is where you want to initially spend some time. And the manual gives you pretty good, deeper discussion on what they're all for, okay? But the first program I ever ran was this Relax program. And I had just spent, oh goodness, about 6 weeks being crazy busy with clients, insanely busy with Healy, and moving from Texas to South Carolina and downsizing at the same time. And I was getting up at 5 in the morning, going to bed at 10 at night, night after night after night after night after night, okay? And I was just running on adrenaline. Now, when I ran the Resonance scan, of the gold programs, it told me to use the Relax program first, okay? So that's what I did. And I was sitting next to my wife when I ran it at the dinner table, and she looked at me and she goes, huh, she goes, I just felt you relax, okay? She goes, I've been trying to do that for you for weeks. And I ran the same program the next day, and the only way I would describe it is I felt like I got hit by the Relax bus, right? I used that program, all of a sudden I'm like, boom, I was out taking a couple hour-long nap in the middle of the day on my sister's porch, crashed. But it's what I needed, okay? So this is a great program to start off with. The Pure program is also a detoxing program. So what you'll notice, a couple quick things, is that, so I put the wrist straps on, and there's a couple things. When we run the program, it's gonna ask, it's gonna show you how well you're connected, okay? It's gonna go in a circle and we'll show you this. If it's black, it means there's no connection. If it's white, it means you've got good connectivity. So sometimes what you can do is sometimes just a little bit of water. I'll take a little bit of water, I'll rub the water underneath the pad, right? I may take the clip off. I may even put a little water here, make sure there's a good connection. I may also do that with some electrode gel. You can get that off of Amazon, very cheap. So, and I think what we'll try and do is hopefully it will show a bad connection initially, and then we'll show you what it looks like to fix that, okay? All right, back to the program. So I'm gonna run the energy program, because it'd be great to have as much energy as possible for this. And what you see is it tells you where to use it, electrodes on both hands. So I can use sticky pads, like say, for example, if you got your device and they were back ordered due to weird COVID issues on the wristbands, and they didn't send you in wristbands, but they sent you some sticky electrodes. Awesome. You could stick the sticky electrodes on your wrist, like right here, or on the back, okay? So when I hit start, what my phone is gonna do, my phone is going to grab the program from the server in Germany, okay, onto my phone and onto the device, okay? So it's a large program, so it doesn't stay on my device or the phone. So for when you're using the Pink app for all the microcurrents, it's gonna load the programs onto your device and then it's gonna run it. And after it's loaded it and after it's running, I can even turn my phone off and this device will continue to run. A lot of times people like to do that because they don't want to have their phone next to them all the time due to like EMS, different things like that. when you are using the Blue app and running resonance scans, and we'll go over that, your phone or device has to be running all the time, which is one reason why I also got a pad that I also connect to my resonance. So, so the question is here on the bottom, you'll notice it says 15%. So the question is, what percentage do you use? My recommendation is 25 to 35%. I just got a message from somebody going, oh, I don't really feel very good when I use my device. I'm like, well, what percentage are you running at? He goes 60. I'm like, oh, that's probably too high for you. So you notice this, it's going from white, and then it would go black occasionally, black to white, black to white. Now, I want to explain a little bit of that. If you pay attention, sometimes what you'll notice, it will go black when it gets very low frequency. And if it's just going black when it's low frequency, it doesn't necessarily mean you need to do anything. Sometimes it's just like the frequency is too low for it to measure a connectivity, okay? Right now, it is connected, right? But for example, if you see if I unsnap this device, it goes to black. That's because there's no connection, right? Or then it goes back if I had it maybe too loose, right? Also, right now I'm using the new silver straps, which have really good connectivity, okay? And sometimes just if I push on it, it will connect again, right? So if I turn this up to, I usually use about 35%, right? So if I did all that and I was still not getting connectivity issues, here's a couple things that I might do, okay? You can use water. You can put a bunch of salt in water to increase the conductivity of the water. You can, sometimes people take little pieces of paper towel in salt water, soaked salt water, and put those little paper towels underneath here. I like to use the electrode gel. It works great. So in doing that, I might just take the electrode gel and I might put just a little bit on my wrist here. Not too much, a little bit there, maybe loosen my other strap over here, rub them on both wrists. I also might, if I'm having major issues, I actually put a little bit of electrode gel on each connector right there. If your cords have a loose connection, sometimes that can be an issue. I've had people who had to get new cords for some reason, okay? I've had people who been doing yard work with your Healy and cut their cords and have to get new cords for that reason as well. So you can get those in the shop on Healy. You can order new cords and straps and all sorts of different stuff back there as well. You can also order it from the Florida Research people as well. They've got cords you can use that will work, and straps. I actually have a pair of straps from them, medical grade straps. They're kind of expensive, like 30 bucks. And they work great, super comfortable as well. So that's another option you have there. So, all right. So if we go back to this program here, a couple things to understand about it running this program, okay? This program will be different every single time you run it, for you and for anybody else, because even as it's using the microcurrents, the Healy still uniquely uses the quantum mirror in it to measure all the time your response to this program, okay? So this is one way the device is really unique compared to all other devices, even ones that use microcurrents, because they don't use a quantum mirror to measure exactly how you're responding to it and customize it to you, to every other person. So every time this program runs for anybody in the world, it's always slightly unique because it's always customizing, which is super cool. So I'm going to screen share this again and show you how we do this here, okay? Okay, yes, I do want to close the program, all right? So a lot of times people are like, if you don't have a resonance device to actually do scans, they're like, well, what program should I use? Okay, so You can follow for the first 5 weeks, you could follow basic protocol and suggestion. Again, for most people, initially, you're going to want to run maybe 2 gold cycle programs a day and maybe an additional program after that, and no more than 3 programs. If you have a lot of wacky health issues, you may need to dial back quite a bit. You may need to hold your device, you can set it up and run it by water and then drink the water, which is very, very, very subtle. But again, some people with Lyme's or different things like that, that's what they need. I have had people who I've lent a device to and just say, hey, here, try it. No real very specific instructions, just empowering them to play around with it. Does that make sense? And they're like, oh, I ran this program, it's fun. I ran that program, it's fun. I had someone I lent a Healy Gold to, and they were having problems breathing one morning. And instead of reaching for their inhaler, okay, they said, I wonder if there's a program in the Healy for lungs. And they poked around a bit. They're like, I found it, and I ran the program, and my lungs felt great, right? So that's just a general suggestion that you don't get too worked up over having to do it one perfect way, okay? A lot of times you'll notice people want very specific instructions, okay? Exactly how do I do it? And sometimes you're not going to get an answer like that. In fact, sometimes if you've watched webinars from different people in Healy with the same question, you'll get a slightly different answer, because some of this is fairly new, okay? People ask, well, for example, which are more powerful, the vibrational programs or the microcurrent programs? And they're like, I don't know really, right? Lori Capano is one person. She said, oh yeah, she goes, my pain is gone. I'm like, cool. And she goes, just running the vibrations that the resident suggested. I'm like, what? All your pain gone? You never even ran any microcurrent programs? She's like, no. I'm like, shocking. Now I know that's possible. You asked me the beginning of my Healy experience, if I go, oh no, you probably, to get rid of pain, you probably really need to use the microcurrent programs. More and more now, I'm like, who knows, man, that's some freaky stuff. My daughter's been running resonance scan and vibration programs for a woman who reports to her that her skin tags are going away as she's running the program. I'm like, that freaked me out. I'm like, seriously, over distance, boom, your skin tags are going away just a couple times, right? So I just want you to feel empowered to play around with it. Does that make sense? As long as you're not someone who's critically ill with Lyme's or different things like that, or overly sensitive, you're probably not going to hurt yourself, okay? You might find something that works better for you than for other people. Why? Because you're made different, right? It's good for you. Here's a suggestion. It's good for you to have a clear intention of what you want the device to do for you and visualize and see it as an accomplished fact. If you do that, you'll get much better results with this device. Using the power of your intention and your expectation will be super powerful. So let's go over a few more things on the Gold program back here. Okay, so we have the Gold Cycle program. We'll just kind of scroll through these here real quick. Care is like for immune system energy is pretty obvious. Release, letting go of things. Being is a great program if you're in a stressful environment, because it kind of helps balance you in the midst of chaos, and balance is great for your immune system as well. Pain and local stimulation. So here's another thing, maybe you look at these and you're like, well, what the heck is number 3, right? There are hints in it, and they're somewhat coded because I have a US based device, and they don't want to run afoul of the FDA, right? So I can either look at this and go, well, what is that a picture of? Looks like a picture of a tooth to me, right? This looks like a picture of joints to me, okay? So what I can do though is I can go back and I can go into the manual, okay? And I can look under mental balance. Where was pain before this? Hold on a second here. Skin. So if I go to the very top and I look for where the pain programs are. Protection, 25, page 15, okay. 14 and page 15. All right, so if you notice, these are in order, okay. So I find it interesting that some of the mental programs and some of the pain programs go together. Sometimes I muscle test myself instead of running a resonance program, and sometimes when I muscle test myself, if I'm experiencing a certain amount of physical pain, the program that comes up to use is actually the depression program. I go, very interesting. Yet they're under the same program category, right? So I can look at these 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, okay? And if I went through number 8, and if on my phone itself, I'm confused as to which programs are which, I can pretty much guess what number 8 is going to be anxiety. And best way to use it on the mastoid bones or with ear clips, right? So again, migraines on the mastoid bones or with ear clips, insomnia, depression, all these different things, right? So that's an insight for you there. Just one of the quirks we deal with, thanks to the FDA. Okay. Because they always have our best interest at heart, right? Or maybe not. Okay, so the pain programs, learning programs, again, it will tell you where to put them, okay? So great for your kids when they're doing tests, when they're trying to learn things at home. Often you'll find that the learning programs will come up on a resonance scan when someone's in the middle of trying to understand stuff. For example, I was doing a demonstration for someone and did a remote scan for them. And in doing the remote scan, the learning program came up, right? Well, this person has previously had a traumatic brain injury and has to work a little harder to process information. And so, boom, this program came up almost immediately because I'm probably overloading her with information as I'm probably overloading you right now with information. Fitness programs, great ones to use while you're working out. Here's an insight for you. I will use some of these programs while I'm out on a bike ride. And for me, the sticky pads that come with the Healy, they aren't super sticky, right? And sometimes instead, I will get some 3M sticky pad EEG pads to use instead of the Healy ones. Now, you'll get some conflicting advice on this. Some people will say, well, the EEGs, they're only designed to get information from you. They're not designed to put information back. So they're not ideal, but I find that they do definitely work. And they're much more sticky. And so for some applications, it's the only thing that will work, okay? For example, if I go on a long bike ride, I sometimes will put those 3M sticky pads on my lower back, and I will have the device all hooked up to me to my lower back, because sometimes on bike rides, my back hurts, okay? Which then gives me the ability, while I'm riding my bike down the road, I can pull up the pain program, turn on my Healy, and turn something on, right? Sometimes I'll muscle test myself while doing that. Often circulation is one that comes up for me a lot. So regeneration would be to recover from it, performance during it. A lot of times people ask me, my daughter, who does not need to lose any weight, this program comes up for her. She goes, it comes up interesting enough after I work out. This is not just losing weight. This is having the right weight. Okay. So there's something about this program that she needs additional assistance in putting on the proper amount of healthy lean body mass. Okay. So job and sleep programs. Here is some of the programs that will work the quickest for people, because we get stunning results with sleep with this. Okay. If you're lending a device out to somebody, here's a great one to do it on. Maybe positive thoughts. We live in a kind of a crazy world these days. That's a good one to run as well. And I don't think any of these need to go across your mastoid bones, but you could check that in the manual, okay? Mental balance, I think we remember that some of these, yes, you do need them on the mastoid bone optimally. Skin results. The results we get with this are just crazy, okay? I will personally tell you that one of the most quantifiable, I've had two very quantifiable results using the Healy. One is skin, okay? In general, people are saying, oh, your skin looks amazing. You look better than you used to. You look younger. Now, I wouldn't say that's so much a quantifiable thing. What I did have, though, is I had a weird scab on my forehead right here. It was about the size of the end of my pinky. And it was a scab, and it just wouldn't go away. And if you pick at it, it was kind of bleed. And I sold all sorts of super fancy skincare products, and it was not working. And that's not, someone go, well, is that a big deal? Yes, it is actually a big deal, because it's my body giving me an indication, hey, you don't have the ability to properly heal yourself at the moment, as evidenced by this thing, right? So after a couple of weeks of using the Healy, and the skin program would occasionally come up, but I wouldn't really pay any attention. All of a sudden, boom, this is gone. I'm like, that's just so weird. My skin, it's like smooth up there. How did that even happen? So that's one thing. The second thing was with eyesight. Actually, I don't need glasses anymore. So you'll notice it's got hair in here. I've had both my mother and my mother-in-law reporting that their hair is fabulous, right? So here's, I want to take a brief side note on this. When we say everything has a frequency, that's literally the case. And it has two very significant implications. One, in terms of what this device will do for you, okay? Your ability to use this device and replace a whole bunch of different supplements and therapies and ointments just with this, okay? The second thing to understand is what that means for business-wise, okay? It's like, if I have a device that will do what a skincare product will do, and what a digestive supplement will do, and what a sleep supplement will do, and what all sorts of different other therapies will do, I have a massive advantage in the marketplace. You understand that? It is like huge. And if you really get a vision for what we're doing with this, it's stunning potentially where we'll be in a couple of years. There's a huge amount of people making massive investments in frequency medicine. We are years and years and years ahead of all of those people, right? But this is where medicine is going, like it or not. So you can think about that. Wow, what I'm going to do for my health. Okay, cool. Also think about the market of it. If you have one device that can replace so many different things. Okay, so anyone have any questions so far? Am I going too fast? Am I being too erratic? Am I glossing over stuff you think I need to pay more attention to? So just let me know. So beauty skin programs, bioenergetic balance. So you'll see there's 4 categories of general stuff: bioenergetic balance 1 and 2, and meridians 1 and 2. Okay. And you'll see things like immune system, colds, allergies. If you see the allergy program come up often on the resonance scan, realize that it's not just dealing with hay fever type stuff. Often it can be inflammatory responses from food. For example, I've been doing a lot of fasting this week, and I've been breaking myself off my carb addiction, and I've lost 8 pounds so far since Sunday, okay? And when I ran the scan this morning, I broke my fast this morning, and I ate, and I had eggs and a small steak. And by the way, typically my body doesn't do super well on red meat. My wife eats almost exclusively steak, but for me, I don't do that well on it. When I ran a resonance scan, allergy program came up. Bing, 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 bing. I'm like, oh, interesting. And so what I did is it gave me an indication. Sometimes one of the most helpful things with allergies is it's your delayed food allergy response. This is massively important because there's so many people who have delayed food allergy responses and they don't know it. What do I mean by that? A delayed food allergy response is certain foods cause inflammation in your body, and the impact of it is subtle enough and far enough removed from the actual food that it's hard to notice. Now, often these foods are foods that people are really like, i.e. are addicted to, right? You know, kids who can't drink enough milk and it's horrible for them because they're not digesting it at all. So when I saw that come up, one thing I actually did is I thought to myself, and I went in my cabinet and I grabbed a bottle of enzymes, and I actually muscle tested fairly strongly to take a couple enzymes with the meal I had just eaten. And then I also ran the allergy program, right? So sometimes what comes up in the resonance can also give you a hint to maybe incorporate some other things that you are also have at your hand, okay? One of the most dramatic stories I heard was a guy who, he goes, I was running an allergy program during the day, and I gave my friend some money to go get ice cream. We were hanging out eating ice cream. And I'm like, oh, this is really good ice cream. It has like some sort of nuts in it. And then he goes, I think I'm eating peanuts. Well, this guy carries an EpiPen with him everywhere because he's deathly allergic to peanuts. And I was having zero response from the peanuts. Freaky. That's super crazy. So hormones, I mean, the results people are getting with different crazy hormone issues is awesome, just awesome. If you're wondering what does it work for, or how well does it work for, I will give you one understanding. Like, I don't permit people to post what I do for diabetes questions, right? Because we don't want to have discussions around disease conditions for compliance issues. But what you can do is you can go on Facebook. If you go into, close all this stuff here. And if I go into the Healy Experience group right here with 36,000 people in it. Okay. Crazy testimonials in here, but you see here, I can search on here on my phone. It's the search box on the top. And if I type in allergies, I'm like, I wonder if it'll work for such and such. It's going to spit out all of the people talking about allergies, or it's taking a while to load for some reason. I'll type in one thing here that will bring in crazy results is pain. You have story after story after story on pain. So if you're curious, I don't know, I wonder if anyone's gotten results with XYZ, go on here and type it in and you'll be astounded at the results you'll get. All right. Someone had a question here, and with the allergy program, so it can actually help you gain the ability to tolerate the former allergy. Yes, it would appear so. Is it permanent? No idea. If I was definitely allergic to peanuts and I had that experience, would I start eating peanuts? Maybe not, right? Does that make sense? I will tell you, the main help will be, though, in the inflammatory response from foods you would normally eat, right? So if people really knew how to muscle test and muscle test themselves for all the food they're about to eat, they would be quite shocked at what foods actually cause inflammatory response for them. For some people, spinach, massively inflammatory, or tomatoes, or a certain type of seasoning that they really love. You're like, oh, it's my favorite, right? Yeah, it's like crack cocaine for you. You need to put that stuff aside, but you don't know it, right? Because you're like, logically doesn't make any sense. Even sometimes you'll notice it from one brand to the next. Does that make sense? One brand of spice, no problem. Another brand of spice looks exactly the same. Major issues. Why? Because the second brand, they're using some sort of filler, some sort of additive, or something might need to even put on the label that's toxic for you and your body's not handling well and you don't know, right? So this allergy program can actually, for some people, will be probably quite useful for weight loss, because if you can reduce the inflammatory response in your body, you can radically impact weight loss big time. And I've seen that many, many times with clients. All right. So I go back in here, Bioenergetics 1 and 2. You know, lung program is great. Sciatic local comes up for me sometimes. So if you pull up that, you're going to need to put it on your sciatic. Again, the sticky pads from Healy will work. If you're very active, though, sometimes they don't stay on very well. The 3M sticky pads, I promise you, they will stay on. They will. You can take like 3 showers and they're still there, right? So sometimes it's actually quite inconvenient to try and get all the sticky stuff off your body. But so just keep in mind, if you have issues with local pain, that you might try using the 3M sticky pads instead, just because they'll stay there better. You know, maybe someone will help us. Any EEG, any TENS compatible pads that you might find, you can try out. We might try and look for some TENS compatible pads, which stick better than the ones we have. But the ones we have are nice because you can reuse them. The 3M pads, you use them once and you got to toss them. So, all right, thyroid gland, liver function, head, prostate, all sorts of super cool stuff. So the meridians are just flow of energy, okay? And so you'll see some of the same organs, and so you have the allergy meridian here, but sometimes it's not a local issue, sometimes it's an issue of flowing energy. And I'll give you one, a simple example of why sometimes the, let's see, where did the lungs go? Okay, so we see the lung program right here. Why sometimes it can be very helpful to have the resonance scan, okay? Sometimes in improving your health, what you really want is an aha moment, okay? What does that mean? Where something is different than you thought, but it lends itself to a simpler, effective, faster solution. One woman related that she had a pain in her right hand, and she ran a resonance scan, and the scan came up with meridian 2, lungs. And she's like, okay, well, but my hand hurts. So she ignored the recommendation and she just ran some pain programs and it didn't really help. So she returned to the original recommendation. She's like, I wonder, I'll run the lung meridian program, see what happens. All of a sudden the pain in her hand went away and she didn't even know what a lung meridian was. So she Googled it and she found that the lung meridian, the line goes up your lungs, but then it also travels down your arm and ended right where the pain in her hand was. Interesting. So using this, especially with the resonance, you have a stunning ability to empower yourself without having to take a massive amount of education, okay? I mean, how much study would you have to do to go, oh, you have pain in your hand there? Maybe it's your lung meridian, right? It's like, it's positively ridiculous. But with this device, we have the ability to empower pretty much anybody to have that type of ability to heal themselves, okay? Chakra programs are awesome. I tested out for a third eye chakra program yesterday. It was great. Third eye is like, I know who I am, where I'm going, how I'm gonna get there. One side note on the chakra programs, sometimes people from a more conservative Christian background will freak out when they see this word, okay? Maybe you don't freak out, but you share it with somebody and they're like, no, I can't have anything to do with it because it has chakras in it. Well, here's the thing to understand. This is just science, and it's just an accurate understanding of different energy centers in your body, which you can measure, which are valid. Now, what happens is, you know, the people who originally started studying and understanding it, they also had a certain religious background. And what most people do is when they have understanding of science, then they often marry it with their religious understanding, okay? But it would be naive to not simply disconnect those two and look at the science behind chakras and try it out, because it's not intrinsically linked to a certain religious state. And I've got a whole video on that if you're interested. All right, the protection programs, very common question people have. They're like, But what about the EMFs and the Bluetooth? And I want to avoid that. Isn't that all bad for you? Here's the thing to understand. I find people often, and I'm not saying 5G isn't bad. I'm not saying that, all the EMFs we deal with aren't bad at all, okay? However, the people it's bad for, especially, are the people whose health is out of balance. Does that make sense? When your body is healthy and balanced, it can handle a whole bunch of crazy stuff, okay? So what people need to do is not start avoiding and cutting off everything for their life and acting in fear. The first step you want to do is go, okay, how can I make my spiritual body robust so that it easily handles anything I come into contact with? Now, having said that, again, I'm going to reiterate, when you're using the microcurrent programs, when the program is loaded onto the device and it started, I can turn off my phone, okay? So in that case, I don't have to have the phone running all the time. Secondly, these protection programs can provide things for you and help you protect against and heal from these type of things, okay? For example, if we pull that up, one thing to see is that you don't need to use cords with this. You can just stick it on yourself, okay? I heard one practitioner say, he talked about Marcus Schmika, the owner of Healy. He said, I live in the Philippines, and where I live, we have a lot of 5G towers, okay? It's quite a problem. And when Marcus comes to visit me, he's wearing 2 Heelys running protection programs. Why? Because he knows what it's going to do to help protect him from that. So I've heard of people so sensitive to different EMFs type stuff that for their Healy, their phone program had to be on their neighbor's phone. They could not even allow it into their home. And that person went from being that sensitive to going, oh, I don't really seem to have a problem anymore. Maybe I'll buy my own cell phone now that I'm not sensitive, right? Again, is it a good idea to live by power lines? No. Or to go around hugging 5G towers? Absolutely not, okay? It's a great idea to have grounding sheets on your bed and to maybe turn off all your Wi-Fi and different things at night. But there are programs on here that can help you be more robust in life, okay? The deep cycle programs are great. They are loaded onto your phone after you've had your device for 2 weeks, because some of these programs are, they're a little too potent for someone right off the bat to use, okay? I've heard great results, especially with this Digest All. One of my clients is like, she's like, has all sorts of crazy digestion issues. And she's like, wow, that worked amazing. Okay, I feel so much better. So these are programs from the Watch. If you have the Watch and the Watch program, and we'll talk about that later, these programs are the ones you run, and the Watch, right from the Watch program, it will turn on your Healy and tell you to run it, okay? Different meridians. What does this mean? There's different times of day. There's different organs are more receptive to healing frequencies. And your Watch program will tell you, hey, it's such and such time. You should run liver programs, right? Digital nutrition programs, again, other stuff that your Watch is going to recommend to you based on the biometrics that it's measuring from you, okay? Bioenergetic support. Here's what we'll say about this. See if you can figure this out. Very soon after this whole craziness we're in the midst of worldwide with lockdowns happened, Healy loaded this program onto your device for free in case you needed it, okay? Does that make sense to everybody? It's a specific program for the day and time we find ourselves in. But under no circumstance do we want to name specific conditions or specific treatments for those conditions that certain regulatory bodies are freaked out about people making false claims for, right? So that's all I'm gonna say about that. There is something that you can subscribe to called Digital Nutrition. And in here, you'll notice how these programs, see how this program is bright. When I go into this one, it's not. That's because I need to renew my digital nutrition program, okay? I have been lazy. Initially, I ran, where's the eye program in here? I ran the eyesight program a couple times. Right there, you see it. And I think that's actually one of the main things that help with my eyesight. And I'm noticing it's been like probably a couple weeks since I've run it. And I'm like, oh, my eyesight is slow. It's just degrading just a little bit, right? And I'm like, ooh, I got to get back to running that program, right? Now, interesting enough, I ran it maybe 2 or 3 times, period. And all of a sudden, if the light was right, I could read. I could go from needing reading glasses to being able to read the serial number off the back of my Healy. That's like freaky small print. Can I do that right now? No. I don't. For most things, I'm not needing glasses, but my eyesight isn't that good anymore, which says maybe I need to get back to running the eyesight program again. Why? Because I'm 51, right? It's like it's not like the device permanently puts me back in the youthful states and I never have to do it again. That would be, this is like goofy. It's like, oh, does it stay permanent? Look, if you find a diet that gets you healthy, then can you go back to eating McDonald's after that because it fixed it? No, that's like goofy, right? It's like, oh, you found what works. Maybe you should keep doing it, right? Like maybe I should keep running the eyesight programs since it really worked well for me. So I'm not going to go through a lot of these digital nutrition programs. We'll discuss maybe the digital nutrition app a little later because we went to therapist programs. We're going to talk about this very quickly. So time waiver, if you have a specific issue, you can pay a time waiver practitioner to develop a customized protocol for you for that situation, pay them to do it, and then get it downloaded onto your Healy so you can run that microcurrent program all you want. I find a lot of people in the Limes group are finding a practitioner to do that with. And in our team group, the Replenish Spirit, Soul, and Body group, there's some people who've done that and who have recommendations on who to use. I think Britt is one that Roar recommends. Lisa Gold also is recommended as well. So that's it. So I'm going to close this. Actually, I want to go in here and go under settings and talk about a few things as well. So under the information, I can see what program version is here. Interesting enough, I've never run this. See, the instructions for use is going to download a PDF on instructions on how to use it. Is it working right now? Yeah, that's not working right now. That may have issues with US version versus other versions. The manual hopefully will download. No, it's not downloading. Technical issues. One thing you can do up here is if I go back under settings, I can connect it to another Healy. Now, what does that mean? It means that I could, if I had multiple devices, I could hook one up to my wife, use my phone, find a program for her, run it for her, right? Then I have one hooked up to my dog. I can go into my same device. I could connect to another Healy, all right? Typically by search for another Healy, and then I would run the scan on it. For example, I have one of my dad's Healys that needs to be warranted because the plug in it broke, right? So if I did that, what I'm going to do is there's the code on the back, okay? And usually what I do is I put my thumb over one of them. So I'm going to cover up one of them and let the device just scan just that one code. So when I hit scan, I'm going to boom. And then the serial number comes up right there. And see, sometimes you run into that issue. Device not found. So I'll just do it again. Scan the QR code. So it brings up the serial number. Keeps on saying device not found. I'm wondering, I put a ticket in to get this replaced or fixed. I'm wondering if potentially it has something to do with that. I haven't gone back in to see if they've done anything with that. I'm going to try it. Well, let's play around with this a bit. See if we can get it to work. I'm going to close the Pink app. Okay, I'm going to open it back up. I see that my that this one that I've been using isn't on at the moment. So it gives me again the option to scan. So I'm going to go back and try and scan this one here and see if I can get it to work. It is bringing up the serial number correctly, but it will not connect it. Okay, let me try this. I'm going to try turning it on when I do that. All right, I'm stumped. I think it may have to do with, see, I have a little note on it, broken. So we'll check and see if they've maybe sent me a replacement device. All right, so what I'm going to do now is before we go on, I see I have a question in chat. Let me take a look here. Any idea how to approximately TimeWaver programs cost? I do not know, Tiffany. Lori, have you checked into TimeWaver program costs? If anyone knows how much they are, type that into the message to everybody. What does it mean when it says Andres device? That happens to my sister's device, and she can't use her Pink app. Yeah, for some reason it's not seeing the device, or the sometimes I've had luck fixing that for some strange reason by manually typing in the serial number and then it working. I've had that work. Sometimes I just use it a couple times. Lori says $175 for a 4-week course. So that's different than getting them to do a specific program for you for a specific condition and downloading your device. I'm not sure how much it is, but I think someone in our group has done that. And if you type in the group and maybe tag a rule or Melsum, you might get an answer there. So any other questions on the Pink app microcurrents before we go on to the next one? Almost $500. Any other questions on that? Going once, going twice? Okay, let's go on to the Blue app. Okay, so this is where things get freaky, interesting, and fun, and you can keep it simple, and you can also get super complicated, okay? So first I've got to make sure that this device is on, and I'm going to hit next. We'll connect to it. And like I said, I can do everything with my resonance, running it while it's actually plugged in as well. This doesn't seem to want to, oh, no, there we go, it's connected. Okay, so the resonance device will do all sorts of crazy things that are super cool, many of which I haven't even tried to do, okay? We're gonna talk about the basics first if we're at home, okay? You'll notice on the home button, I've got different clients and lists. The Healy Resonance, when you first set it up, and remember, I referred you to that video that linked from the FAQ, linked from the YouTube playlist on exactly how to set up your device, okay? When you set up your device, one thing that you do is you use a master key to set it up, okay? And the master key is it's a blockchain, how to describe it? So when you're dealing with people's information, especially as it relates to health stuff, and keep in mind, we don't have like real personal intimate details often in terms of, oh, someone has liver cancer, right? And that information is stored in the device. You know, I know Tiffany does health coaching with people, and in doing that, you know, you're getting a lot more intimate information from people on mental issues, on health issues, that can be damaging for them if other people know it. And as a result, she's got to do quite the process they go through to keep that information safe is extensive. Why? Because everyone's getting afraid of getting sued, right? So they'll take extreme action. So one of the things, since this is a certified medical device, when you're using the resonance scan, okay, it is, all the information is stored in the cloud, and it's blockchain encrypted. In other words, the information that you scan for your clients is in the cloud, and not even Healy has access to that information, okay? So if you have a bunch of stuff stored in the cloud and you lose your device and you didn't save your master key in a good spot, all that information is bye-bye, okay? They can easily reset your device with a new master key, but everything you stored on the cloud that's connected to that master key is gone, okay? And on that video on the setup, I go into a little bit more explanation of what that file is. You don't want to open it, don't want to try and mess with it, and you need to save it in multiple places. But again, I went through great detail with that. By the way, great news is that one of the new updates on the app, on the Resonance app, you can now reset your own Resonance device. You can reset the master key. Now, if you do that, keep in mind that any information you had in the cloud, you're going to lose, okay? I think there's some people, I think, who are using their Resonance on a device that isn't connected to Wi-Fi or anything, and it will still work, but while it's doing that, it's not syncing up the information to the cloud, okay? So if I have my the Healy Resonance program downloaded onto 2 devices, like you see here, okay, I've got it on my phone, I've got it on this iPad. If I decide to use the Resonance on my pad, it's still syncing up. Any clients that I put in with my phone will show up here. Any scans that I've done with my clients on my phone will also be on here. And the useful thing to do with this is that under the list, it will show the different scans I've previously done. There's a couple of useful things for that. I can rerun those programs vibrationally. Also, you'll notice when I do aura scans for analysis, it will also, you can kind of keep track of like, how have you been doing? Like, oh, look, your aura is consistently better. Okay, so I'll show you some of that, and I will show you on my personal information on it, because I don't mind sharing that. Okay, now here's one thing to understand tech-wise. The Resonance app, if you do anything else besides be in the Resonance app, it disconnects from Healy, and it can be a bit of a pain, okay? So keep that in mind. So one thing to keep in mind, if your device, like if my phone, to save batteries, is designed to go into screen saving mode every 30 seconds, and you're like, what's up with the Healy? It like disconnects from my device every 30 seconds. It's like, yes, not the Healy. You need to go into your settings on your phone and change it so that your phone doesn't turn off all the time. Now, that's one reason why I like to use a pad, because if I'm running scans or if I'm running vibrational programs on my phone, I can't really do anything else with it, okay? And I'm not so good at sitting around for 5 minutes doing nothing. so sometimes like multitasking, so I'll run programs from this pad. Now, this pad is a Samsung tablet. I bought it at Costco for like 140 bucks. Works great. I don't need a data plan with it. It just needs to connect to Wi-Fi, that's all. Now, if I had to redo it, honestly, what I might do instead of getting the pad, I might get a second used cell phone off Craigslist or off Facebook Marketplace that's decently new, because the pad is a little big, right? So if I wanted to do Healy vibrations while I'm walking around the house or walking somewhere, then I got to carry this with me. Does that make sense? To make sure it's still running. So if I like this, it's nice and big. If I had to redo it, I might get a phone similar to mine for cheap, used, and not get a data plan with it and just run it off of Wi-Fi, and it would work just fine. Sometimes I think also a used phone might have a little faster processor than a new tablet for 140 bucks. So that's just something to think about. Especially helpful if you're doing this in a clinical setting, maybe. You want to run programs for your clients while you're doing massage therapy for them or something, right? Or maybe you have multiple clients at once and you want to come in and have them run microcurrent programs while they're sitting waiting for treatment. Okay, then it will be helpful to maybe have an extra device to run everyone's programs instead of having to use your phone. So does that make sense to everyone? So we're gonna make sure this is on. It is on. All right. Now, one thing you notice, see this says ending in 6E. I have multiple devices in my phone, in my house. So what I do is on the back of it, on a sticky note, I put the last two of the serial number. Okay. That way, when I pick up a device, I know whose it is and everything. I recently had somebody who had 3 different devices, and they were having the worst time getting their resonance to work. And I took the 3 devices and I figured out, okay, the device you think is a resonance isn't a resonance, and that was part of their problem. Okay. So someone's asking me, can you run multiple programs from the same Healy? No, it's just one thing at a time per device. Right? So here, I'll give you a little bit of insight. The way I figured out which of her devices was a Healy Holistic Health and which one was a resonance is I opened up all of them in the Pink app program, and I saw which programs they had on them. And I realized that when I opened up one of them, it had all of the programs on it, including like the beauty programs and the job programs, which only comes with a Healy Holistic Health Plus. Okay. So then I took all our devices and I wrote on the back, RES for resonance, right? So that's when I knew the mistake she was making, right? Is she was thinking that one of her Healy Holistic Health was a resonance, and she's wondering, why can't I get the Blue app to run on it? It won't work. I'm like, yeah, it's because it's not ever going to work because it's not a resonance. And so that was the problem. So just an insight on that. All right. We go back to, I'm going to stop sharing here. I'm going to go back in here. All right. So the first time, when I first started doing this, by the way, here's a side note. I probably sold 100 devices to people before I ever touched a Healy. Do you need to have your Healy and use it to sell a Healy? No. If you consistently get that objection from people, it's probably because it's your own objection. Does that make sense? I was like, I'm making a decision to buy one before I ever have one. You might like to make a decision to buy one before you ever touch one or you experience it as well, right? And because I had that very strong belief, it was never an objection for me ever, okay? I just let people make up their own mind. Look, check out the information. I can't endorse it personally because I haven't used it, but you don't have to be a rocket scientist to look around at the information and go, holy crap, this thing works, right? It's like, it's common sense. Here's a very good way to think about it and a very good answer. Sometimes you'll often get the question, will it work for XYZ? People go, oh, I have migraine headaches. Would this work for my migraines? Here's my response, and it's a very accurate and very helpful response. Look, if I said, hey, Lori, look, I don't know if it's going to help your migraines. This I do know. If you get this device and use it for 3 months, the condition you really wanted to change may or may not be different. But I will tell you this, there'll probably be 10 things that are dramatically improved that total shock you and make you ecstatic over your investment, right? Because that's you want to set people's expectation up that this thing goes in and starts balancing things, okay? And what people don't understand is that what you think is the main problem may not be the main problem. Your physical body has the ability to mask major problems, okay? And like, I remember I used to sell this supplement, and this woman, she started taking it. And she relates that all of a sudden, after taking the supplement for a while, she had a dent in her breast. Dent, D-E-N-T. She goes, okay, that's a little weird. She goes to the doctor and she has it checked out and scanned. And the doctor's like, well, it appears that there used to be some sort of malignant mass in your breast, but it's gone now. She didn't even know that she had it, right? But all of a sudden, boom, her body started prioritizing that, okay? So this is similar with the Healy, and when you're working with frequencies, the first thing to do is to put your body back in balance. Someone may have a toxic liver. Is it the best thing to detox their liver first? No, maybe not. Maybe their lymphatic system and their digestion can't even begin to handle cleaning their liver out. And they need to put the liver at down the priority. Like, we got other things to work on. Does that make sense to everybody? So, all right. So I know that that is the device, and then I'm going to put the X here, and I know we're connected now. And I'm going to go into, first of all, I'm going to go into clients, and here's a list of clients. And when I add new client, one thing to see is I can do a person, animal, plant, organization. By the way, anyone notice that it used to say individual and now it says person? I'm like, oh, interesting. So we go in here, plant, animal, building, group, other, right? So I've done 4 different categories so far. I've done lots of individuals. I've done pets. I did a oak tree once, this like 400-year-old oak tree. That was super cool. And I've done my marriage as a group, okay? And I get much different results when I scan for my marriage as I do for myself individually. But I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna demonstrate on myself, okay? So if I was gonna enter myself in as a new client, first I need a picture. Often what I will do, now I can do this remotely for somebody. If I was doing it remotely for somebody, I would probably first have the picture on my phone, okay? Maybe on my phone, I would go to their Facebook profile and I would save a picture from their Facebook profile to my phone and then edit it by cropping it down, okay? So I would already have a picture on my phone that I could very easily grab, right? So if I click add the picture, I can take the photo, right? For example, I could go on and I could take my picture like that. That makes sense? Boom. And I could use that one. Or I could go into the gallery and I could look in here, right? And maybe I would have saved a picture already in my gallery and I could very easily grab it, okay? So we'll use that. I'm gonna type in my name, Stephen Keller, right? So what we're doing here is we're getting a, maybe you call it a universal address, okay? We're talking about quantum, on the quantum physics realm, right? And the more information I can put in here, the better, okay? Since I'm doing it for myself, I could probably just put in me. I could grab the Healy and I could record a vibration of myself. I probably wouldn't need any more information than that. The less I know somebody, okay? For example, if I was doing this for one of my parents, right? I energetically know exactly who they are, right? And if I was doing it over distance for them and I held this device in my hand and it's my intention to record their vibration, I could probably very easily do it because I'm very accurate in my connection with them. Does that make sense? If I'm doing it for some random friend on Facebook, okay, the more information I have in here, the more accurately, the better. Like a good picture of them, first name, last name, okay, date of birth, place of birth, male, female, okay. Then what I would do is if I was doing it by distance, I would hold this in my hand and I would even say with intention, I'm now recording a vibration for Susie. This is going to be her result, right? See how clearly I'm making that? Now I have 13 years of experience doing this because I muscle test people by distance on myself for hours at a time, and it's super accurate. So the clarity of my intention of doing it accurately is a muscle that I've developed. Does that make sense? If the person was with me, obviously I would have them hold the Healy in their dominant hand when I hit the record vibration, right? But if I do it just for myself, I lost my connection here. Come on, you can do it. And we go back to the 6E. Just trying to connect, and it is connected. All right. All right. So once it's recorded, I don't need to ever do that again for a client, right? For example, we'll go down here for Mr. Finnegan Keller. Who's that? It's the dog, right? So when I record his vibration, I actually held it for him. If you have a pet, you may put it on them with your hand when you hit the record. You know, there's different options, okay? So, he's male, by the way. I don't know why I didn't add that. See, if you notice in here, I don't have his date of birth and place of birth. I didn't feel it was necessary because I had him here with me. Does that make sense? And so there's a bit of a, again, when we're dealing with the quantum realm, there aren't any fast and hard rules. Why? Because a lot of it has to do with the energy and intention that I'm interacting with the device with, right? So you might get some different recommendations. I know some doctors who use energy devices. They're like, oh, I have the client. I think they were signing their name or something while using it. I think, Laura, you may have heard of this suggestion. I know for me that I don't need to do that. Why? Because I have hundreds of hours of experience on my ability with intention to connect to somebody very accurately because of what I do for a living, okay? So the more you have that belief, the better connection you can make when you're connecting with somebody. So here's Mr. Finnegan. And if we're going to use him as an example, say, for example, I just saved him as a client. Do you want to perform a new analysis? Yes, I do. Okay. There's two options that I can do here. The aura analysis that will also give me an indication on chakras, and a resonance analysis. First one we're going to do is the aura analysis. Okay. And I'm going to hit record his aura. All right. Now there's two things that come up here. The interpretation is a great recommendations on how to understand what the different chakras are, okay? And some understandings of how to shift them by changing mindset and different things like that, right? And if we go into the analysis, it's gonna say the forehead chakra is low. In general, he's usually really good, this dog, right? What does forehead chakra mean? He's not sure who he is, where he's going, how he's gonna get there. In other words, he's an Australian Shepherd, and we used to have a kennel for him, and if he was in the kennel, he would just chill. Otherwise, he's walking in circles around the apartment, right? Because he doesn't have a job. He's like, I don't know who I am, where I'm going, what are we gonna do? He's like, he just keeps going. Does that make sense? If we go deeper, you notice it just grabbed the lowest three, and it's gonna do more in-depth analysis on that. So this is very useful to have your kids in here, your pets in here. It gives you the ability to do a quick checkup on them energetically, right? My daughter did a scan somebody. So I have someone in my business. They didn't have a residence yet. Their husband was dealing with a lot of stuff. They're like, can you run a scan on me? I'm like, I'm just too crazy busy. Have my daughter do it. She'll do it for 20 bucks. So my daughter ran this person's auras and chakras, and she walks into my bedroom and she's like, Dad, she goes, what's wrong with this guy? I go, well, I told her this person was having seizures and was in the hospital and had almost no EEG. She's like, she was freaked out about what it said. Does that make sense? She's like, oh, this is not good. What is going on? Is this person about to die? I'm like, almost, yes, right? Came up on it. Freaky little device. Um, so this is so funny. Okay, so this is my daughter's dog. Okay, and she is very all about the rules with the dog. She's not spoiling them. Does that make sense? Right? so sometimes it's good for him, but you can see this here. It's like mom is the boss, right? Which is hilarious. Material things, for example, money, are not felt to be important. Well, he's a dog. That makes sense. He doesn't care about that stuff. The person limits themselves to the physical body. Also makes sense. The person begins to understand confusion between love and sexuality. They feel this disappointment quite vividly. And the mind identifies with fire. Anyways, so sometimes some of these will be so accurate for people, it will freak them out. On occasion, I've run scans for people. I've started looking at this, what this pulls up right here, and I just hand my phone to them, right? I'm like, okay, it's none of my business. You read over this, okay? I had a client who I do a lot of work with, okay? I do work with this client. I also do work with the whole family, the client and the mother. One day, this client messages me because she has her own residence, and she goes, yeah, the Healy just told me that I need to work on the issues with my strong-willed, manipulative mother. She goes, I just had a conversation with my mother, and in the conversation, my mother wanted me to do something that I didn't want to do, and I knew if I didn't do it, she would give me the "you're a bad daughter" vibe, and I called her on her tendency to give me the "you're a bad daughter" vibe, and she still gave me the "you're a bad daughter" vibe. And then I run the scan, and the scan's like, yeah. Number one, in the auras chakra analysis, that came right up. The issue with your mother, how you receive her as being controlling and manipulative and strong-willed. Like, you need to work on this, right? So what this then does is it gives you an insight on what you can do with this. Like, sometimes just the scan itself, you can change your attitude. Changing attitude and changing perspective, hands down, the most powerful thing you can do energetically. Boom. Right? If something comes up, like you don't feel you're loved, and you're like, wait a second, I have beautiful experience and evidence that God does love me, and you change your attitude and you see more God as a father and you confess it with your mouth, that's super powerful, right? You shift your energy and your frequency and your even physical health almost immediately with that. But what you can do here is you can do a couple actions. Under actions, I can run the PDF, show PDF. What does that mean? It means that if I'm working with a client in person or remotely, and instead of taking time for all this, right, I can say, hey, I'll just send you an email. And in the email, you see this PDF attachment in the email, it will send you what we just scanned. Like, oh, okay, that's super cool. I can look it over later. Yes, be awesome for you. So I might just type in aura and send it to myself, right? Now I can look over that later, meditate on it, think about it, look at all the recommendations, okay? The other thing that I can do is to go into vibration, okay? And what you'll notice is the percentages here, and they kind of bounce around a bit. The lowest percentage was, okay, two things to understand. This percentage here in the aura, and under the aura's chakras, the higher it is, the healthier the chakra is, right? When doing scans for all the vibrational programs, the higher we're testing for how much you need the program. So the higher the percentage is over there, the more you need it. Okay? Like if you had a 80% depression program, you're like, whoa, man, yeah, you must be dealing with a lot of depression at the moment. Why? Because the need, the resonance to it is so high, right? So this isn't a resonance scan, it's an aura scan, and it's telling you of optimal percentage, what are they at? And again, the dog's pretty good. And this one right here was the one that was lowest, okay? So now if I can run a vibrational therapy for him, okay? And one thing it does is it allows me to choose how long the vibration goes for. Okay, now here's an area, a little bit of a gray area. In general, these programs, the shorter you run it for, like if you have an acute issue, like my boss was super nasty to me today and I don't understand because usually they're so nice and I'm like freaked out about it. That's like a very acute issue. Does that make sense? So you would run a shorter burst for multiple times versus a more chronic issue, you would run a longer program, but not quite as many, okay? And I kept on trying to remind myself to grab the sheet that explains this. I think, I believe the new manual that I uploaded to the FAQ gives the therapy recommendations for that specifically. And will say how many times to run it, for how long for acute versus chronic, okay? And I apologize for not having that on hand. I know that's been posted into our group multiple times. And if someone reminds me in the group, I will track it down and repost it. And really what I need to do is I also need to have it as a some sort of picture and link, very easily accessible on the FAQ, because it's a very common question, okay? So personally what I do is I muscle test it, which works well for me, but not everyone can muscle test it, right? So if you know how to muscle test it, this is how I do it. First, I would test for how many times to do it. So I'm gonna say for Finnegan, maybe only 2 times and then I'm muscle testing. I'm testing it shorter than a minute, yes or no, longer than a minute, yes or no. So I would do it 2 times for him at 2 minutes and 49 seconds. Okay, now I'm not gonna do that. Let it run for that long because I'm not gonna spend 5 minutes staring at me running chakra programs on my dog. That's not useful for anybody, right? So does it work? Yes. How well do distance program works? I'm gonna give you somewhat of a humorous story, okay? Recently my mother fell and broke her hip and her humerus bone, and she's in Arizona. I went to go see her. She's doing great. She's freakishly resilient. But while I'm there, my dad has a Healy. It is not a resonance, okay? Both my parents are complaining about, oh, I'm not sleeping well, right? How many people do you know who complain, I'm not sleeping well, I'm not sleeping well, right? So while I'm there, I work with them. Then I come home. Now I live on the East Coast time. They're in Phoenix right now, which is currently Pacific Standard Time, 3 hours earlier. So when I get home that night, I take my resonance and I run some scans for my mom, and I'll show you under the resonance program, and I see what program she needs the most, and I choose to run them vibrationally for her a bit. Then before I go to sleep, I choose the sleep category program, and I run, I figure out what sleep programs to run. It chooses them, right? And then I set it to vibrate, and I set it to 8 hours, okay? And I take my device, both of them plugged in, and I put them in my drawer next to my bed, okay? Then I take my wife's resonance and her phone, and I do the exact same thing for my father. Look at some programs, run them vibrationally for him for a bit, then go under sleep programs specifically, figure out which ones he needs, run it for 8 hours, put it aside. When I wake up the next morning, I look at my phone and I notice that I've missed a phone call from my mother at 1:51 in the morning, which rather concerns me. Why? Because she's having major health issues. I'm wondering if she's okay. It freaked me out a bit. I listened to the voicemail because my mother doesn't text. She's 85. And the voicemail goes like this. She goes, I know you ran some sleep programs for me last night. I slept amazing. Thank you so much. But I'm looking at my phone. I'm like, but she called me at 11 o'clock her time. I do not understand, right? Now keep in mind, I'm 3 hours later than her. So, and I go to bed decently early. So I ran for her, I was running this program at like 7 o'clock at night for her, 7:30. So I call her, I'm like, what's going on? She goes, wow, man. She goes, I know you ran a sleep program. I slept amazing last night. I woke up so refreshed that I knew that I had slept all night long, and I picked up the phone. I started making phone calls until the nurse walked into my room and she goes, yeah, it's like 2 in the morning. What are you doing? Who are you calling at 2 in the morning? I'm like, okay, well, I'm sorry. I'll try and figure out a way to run this programs for you a little later in the evening. Then I called my father and I'm like, how are you doing? He's like, well, I know you ran some sleep programs for me. He goes, I fell asleep at the dinner table. I didn't wake up till 11 o'clock at night. And I barely managed to stumble into bed and slept till 5 in the morning. He goes, that definitely worked. I'm like, so does it work over distance? For sure. My daughter, who occasionally runs programs for people, you can hire her to do that because she's got a resonance. She's had great results with people. In fact, one woman goes, yeah, she goes, as you keep running these programs for me, my skin tags are going away, which freaks me out. I'm like, I was freaked out that Lori got such good results with pain, with using vibrational programs. And I'm just like, so I'm not putting any limits on. Now, which reminds me of a very interesting thing. How powerful is intention when using it? Here's an important thing to understand. Marcus Schmieke, he owns Time Waver and Healy. He once said, and you can tell he always doesn't quite think like a businessman based on this statement. He goes, it seems like people are getting even better results with the Healy than with the Time Waver machine. Like, think about that. A $30,000 device, professional practitioner getting better results than the total amateur with the $2,500 device with no experience, just pushing buttons and playing around, getting better results. He goes, I think it's because people, when they're using the Healy, they don't put limitations on people. Does that make sense? Like, oh, you have that condition. It will take this long and may not even work. Does that make sense? Because they're not practitioners. They don't know. I'm like, I don't know. We'll try it, right? And by not putting limitations on it or having a stronger expectation of what it can do, it can become much more powerful. So just important thing to understand. So I've got to see something in the chat here. Can you run multiple programs? Check the FAQ guideline for balancing Healy. Balancing Healy resonance is not in there. Are you talking about, Lori, are you talking about, that sheet? Okay, got it. On the program times on how long to run them, it's not in there. Did you check the Healy manual that's linked in the FAQ and it wasn't in there? Okay, I will track it down somewhere and we'll post it in there. Thank you for checking on that for me. I appreciate it. All right. So let's try and get this thing running and we'll give you some more examples. So we need to reconnect to the 6E. And interesting enough, if you saw that one of the options it had for connecting to Healy's was actually my father's ending in 3D. So it saw the Bluetooth of it, but his is not a Healy. So that's interesting. I'm not sure why we couldn't get it connected by scanning a new device. So again, this is from my dog. We don't need to do that anymore. I'm going to go back to the home, okay? And we're going to do some resonance scans for him. And so I'm going to click on this. I'm going to click on resonance analysis. Now, here's a simple insight for you. I run resonance scans on myself a lot. I always like to be a little efficient. After I put myself in there as a client, one thing I did is I went and then changed my name and I put AA in front of my first name. Why did I do that? So that I'm always top of the list. It saves me like 5 seconds every, you know what I mean? It's just like a little thing, a little more convenient. Boom, it's always on the top of the list. It just makes it easier. So that's just me. So we're going to go, well, I'll run some resonance scans on myself, okay? And here, I want to talk here a little bit more about intention. Again, this is not a like blood sugar monitor, blood pressure cuff that will work whether you think it does or not, okay? Your intention and the better you get at using your intention is important. For example, my niece said to me, she goes, you know, Uncle Steve, she goes, I find the more I use the resonance, the better it works. Why? Her relationship with the device improves. Her expectation of what it will do improves. Now, by the way, this is one reason why it's extremely difficult to do real accurate studies on the resonance and vibrational therapies and doing scans. Why? It's something called the observer effect, meaning when I observe something, my view is the impact of my spirit on it changes what I'm looking at, right? And that's all super cool quantum physics. It's like, so when you go to measure something, it knows you're measuring it, and it changes your reaction, its reaction to you, and how it presents itself. Okay. So when we're talking about doing resonance scans, what do we mean by that? Okay. It means the clearer I have on what my intention is for the device, the clearer, more focused, the better results I'm going to get. Now, that's probably one reason why my oldest daughter gets great results when doing resonance scans for people, because she takes that very seriously. She's like, boom, you can tell she's focused when she pushes that button. Okay. I'll give you an example of this. Okay. If if my knee's bad, okay, and one of the guys brought this up on the call, I thought it was great. He goes, my knee hurts, so I'm going to do a scan because I want to know how to make it better. But the question is, why do I want my knee to be better? Or why do I want the pain to be gone? So I can dance. Okay, cool. Why do you want to dance? So I can spend time with my wife having fun. Ah, that's your intention to get out of the Healy, not focusing on the knee pain. Does that make sense? So for me, a lot of times I will focus, for example, on the term wholehearted is a very powerful, all-encompassing term. And to be wholehearted, it means you are going to passionately go for it. And in passionately going for it, I am not vulnerable to guilt and shame, because my value in life is firmly connected on divine unconditional love for me. So if I'm connected to divine unconditional love for me, that never changes. And failure on my part does not change my value. What does that mean then? It means I can totally go for it, totally fail. Failure will hurt, of course, but the failure can't put guilt and shame on me, and just refocus and do it again. Does that make sense? Someone who's living a wholehearted life, they can be in a new relationship and tell that person they're in a new relationship to, hey, you know what? I love you. And I'm risking right here saying I love you, making myself vulnerable, and you saying, oh, I didn't even like you at all. I was actually going to break up with you today because I found somebody new, right? Will that hurt? Sure, it will hurt. But I never gave that person the ability to tell me what I'm worth, so then I can go, well, that sucked, but I know my value, and I move on. Does that make sense? So the wholeheartedness is a very simple way that impacts your spirit, soul, and body. So often that's what I will do for someone, is I'll say, hey, my intention is for you to live a beautifully passionate, wholehearted life, spirit, soul, and body. Okay. So if I did that for myself right now, and I chose a database collection, now what you're going to see here is you're going to see these are all the programs that I can scan for, either individually, the program category, or all of them. Now, if I hit all of them, it doesn't actually do all of them on the page. It will grab everything from the Healy Gold cycle down. So Healy Gold, Pain Psych. It's not going to do the I Ching, Schussler salts, gem elixirs, or all these ones on the top. Because here's the thing to understand: the resonance, its main initial job was not to do vibrational therapy for people. Its main initial job was to figure out which microcurrent programs you have the most resonance with. So as you use the 120 programs that you can do by direct microcurrent, you're using the one that's most effective for you right now in your current situation. Okay. So the I Ching and above, you don't use through microcurrents. They're all vibrational programs, right? So that's why when I run all program scan on the resonance, it doesn't pull those up. So if I ran all program, and if I hit this, and it asks me again, what's your focus? What do I have the greatest resonance with now? And I go, for my ability to live a passionate, proactive, wholehearted life, right? And if I can start that with my emotions, I'm always focused personally first on my emotions, because if I can be most passionate emotionally and spiritually, then everything else I find works itself out. Okay. So And I do not have to be touching this when I do that, because the Healy already knows my universal address. Okay, so when I hit that, by the way, see this thumbprint right here? It's not actually needing a thumbprint. This screen of my phone does not have the ability to record or analyze a thumbprint. What it's doing is it's saying, hey, by the way, don't be like scrolling TikTok videos at the same time as you're trying to do a scan. Maybe you should be a little more focused than that, right? So it reminds me, oh yes, I look at it and I'm like, I'm expecting to get results to help me live a passionate, wholehearted life. Now I could put my nose on that and it would still work. Okay, it does not have to be thumb or fingerprint, and it's not recording people's fingerprints. You know, people get concerned. So the higher the percentage, the more resonance I have with it. Now with this first scan, I can do a couple things. I can go in, I can send a PDF to my clients. I can do vibrations. Under vibrations, I could choose a certain time and number of times to run all these programs together vibrationally for healing. Or since we're talking about doing microcurrent programs, there's multiple Healy gold cycles. So this doesn't actually tell me which gold cycle to run. That makes sense? So to find that out, I'm going to need to go back into the resonance. Now you know why I keep my name at the very top, because it makes me incrementally slightly more efficient, right? So I go back to the gold programs and I go, okay. Boom. And it's going to tell me of all the gold programs, the one I need most right now is care. Right now, the fact that this only came up as 47% kind of gives you a bit of an indication of like, you know what, I'm doing pretty good right now. Okay. I can choose to run that specific gold program or do vibrational programs, or I might say, you know what, that's great, but I have a few things I actually want to work on specifically. What do you mean? Maybe I'm about to go work out. What do I want to know? I want to know of the fitness programs, what's going to give me the best advantage both in the workout and in the recovery, right? So I'm about to go work out. Maybe I am working out. So the recommendations might be different before, during, and after, okay? So if I hit that, right? Muscle program would be the first one, okay? So I might choose to use the device while I'm working out with the muscle program. By the way, hint for you, two things I can do, okay? These cords are a little inconvenient. One thing I can do is I can simply run it up my short sleeves like this and plug it in. This helps incrementally because the cords aren't in front of me. Step two, I can get a workout shirt that's maybe similar material to this, that's long sleeved, right? Or a dress shirt or something. So if I have long sleeves on and I put the cords on and then I put my arms in the sleeves, then it gets rid of all the cord problems, right? Makes it super convenient. So if you're trying to do this like on a kid, right? You might dress them up in, you know, like if it's a little kid, you might dress him up in like pajamas or something and zip him up so he's all hooked in, and then run some programs on him, or long sleeves, different things like that are some recommendations. Okay. So if we go back up into here and resonance, one thing you'll notice is I can see what different programs are on these, on that blue thing, information thing on the right. I can see, okay, here's all of the different programs that this particular one has, okay? So if I was curious maybe, and I'm here now, I could just hit this edit button over there to go back out here, okay? So maybe I'm about to do study for a test, okay? And I wanna go, okay, I don't want a general recommendation. I need to know right now, maybe some of you, right now I'm fire hosing you with information. You need all the help you can get to process it, right? You would go under learning program and you would do this, right? And it would say, hey, while you're doing that, exam acute, right? It has to do with, you know, performing a test, showing that you know what you're talking about, right? Which I can experience a little bit right now because I could view myself as being everyone looking at me going, do you actually know what you're doing, right? So it can be helpful right there. So we go back in there, other database selection. Beauty programs, sometimes for a while, the beauty program was coming up for me. I'm like, really? Beauty programs? And then it would come up under aging. And I'm like, I don't know if I am offended that my resonance thinks I'm getting old or excited that I'm about to get younger, right? It's like, I decided to be super excited that I'm going to turn the clock back a bit. Okay. Mental balance again. Sometimes the deep cycle programs again only come on your device after you've had it for 2 weeks. So I want to talk now. Any questions on those, on looking through those microcurrent programs or anything we've talked about so far? Going once, going twice. All right. So what I want to talk now about is I want to talk a bit about these from the I Ching up. Okay. And these are super cool. And these are some of my favorite things to do with my resonance. Okay. All of these are more energetic vibrational programs that do a couple of things. One, they will give you a good indication of your current state emotionally, energetically in different ways. Can provide by that insight that can be helpful, then can tell you what therapies to use, whether it's Bach flower remedies or essential oils or what are they called, homeopathics, whether you need different supplements, Alaskan gem elixirs, all. So you can use the actual therapy itself, or you can run it vibrationally for yourself as well. So we'll go through this on the top, and I'll do all these for myself. Bach flower remedies. Again, my intention is to live a passionate, wholehearted life. All right. So number one, the burden of fanaticism and staples on fixed principles is balanced. And that's a fairly high percentage. It has to do with, needing things done correctly, okay? So why would this be helpful for me right now? Look, I have thousands of people in my Healy business, and I want all their devices to work properly. And it seems like we should have a clear solution for every problem. Does that make sense? And so it's a bit of adjustment to go, okay, well, maybe you do fix it this way. Maybe you fix it that way. We're not sure what the new program is like. So I would love for it to be all cut and dry. And it's stressful for me that it's not, right? Does that make sense? So I want to actually give you a bit of an insight here. So this is me on the Bach flowers, right? Now, remember that I said that I put my marriage in here. So let's see if I ran my marriage as a program. Oops, I want it in here. And now that's me. So I got to go back here. Resonance analysis. We go under marriage, HKL, marriage. And I'm going to choose the Bach flower remedy, the same thing we just did, okay? And again, for a passionate, wholehearted marriage, right? To be able to be vulnerable, to go for it, to have high standards, okay? So interesting, 64%. The burden of escape into a toddler's role is balanced. So it's like, that's an interesting relational dynamic. Does that make sense? Because it's talking about specifically how you're interacting with people and exaggerating my problems. Does that make sense? Like, oh, you don't understand what I'm going through. I have to overemphasize my problems so you'll listen. Does that make sense? So one, it gives me, it gives me good insight on, I look at that and go, I could see how I'm doing that a bit, right? So one, it gives me the opportunity to change my attitude. Two, I go, maybe I need some of this Heather Bach flower remedy stuff. Or now on the bottom, you see here, essential oil, clementine. Oh, maybe I'm a oil person and I've got like a whole cabinet full of stuff. I'm like, oh, of the 100 essential oils, I think I might have one. Look at that, clementine. How could I use it? How come my wife and I both is like that? Maybe I can start incorporating it. It'll give you the gemstones and all that. Or I can also run it vibrationally for our marriage as a unit. Because when it runs the program vibrationally, it's not running it for me, it's running it for us. Does that make sense? If I look at the second one down here, dirt enzyme. It's actually kind of funny. I was furiously cleaning the house this morning, and maybe slightly wishing I was getting more help while I was doing it. Does that make sense? Sometimes these are actually quite humorous, right? I've run tons of scans on myself and never had this come up for me, but this is is in terms of our relationship. Does that make sense? Right? So we're going to go out of there. We're going to go back into me, and we're going to go through some other options. So materia medica is misnamed. It should just be named the homeopathics, okay? Because if I click this and I click on the eye, you'll see all of the different homeopathics it will check for, okay? And so if I run this, this does a couple things. It can say what homeopathic I would do well to have, or which one I should run through the program. Or sometimes it's very helpful to go, I've had 3 different ways, maybe infection come up, maybe bioenergetic boost came up, or immune system came up in the scan. Maybe a couple different things. Then I see it again in the homeopathic one. I'm like, wait a second. Maybe what this is all trying to tell me is that I'm dealing with an infection that hasn't yet presented itself. Does that make sense? Because your body can be fighting an infection before you ever really feel really sick. And if you can jump on it really soon to begin with, that's super helpful. So rheumatic arthritic complaints, worse from damp, cold weather. So it's been a little, weather's changing, a little damper. I don't feel like a creaky old man, but maybe give me a bit of a heads up on that. Okay. And then what to look for: cramps and neurologic pain, pressure by heat, pains, which oblige patient and bend double. Interesting. So just kind of aches and pains type stuff. Interesting enough, I do actually feel a little pressure in my sinus here. So it's interesting that that comes up. Inflammatory conditions. So it's interesting. All these have to do slightly with inflammatory issues, all of them, right? So I could look at this, I could run the scans. If I have these, I might do it. What I also might do is I might go, inflammation seems to be coming up. Do I have any other supplement, which I may not use regularly, which is great on inflammation? And I do have one. And so if I muscle tested myself on that one right now, so I muscle test a little bit more than average for that, but not extreme. And you see that this 64% is a little high, but nothing like, oh my God, what's wrong with you? Okay. So that's what you can do with that. And again, you could send someone a PDF of that as well. All right. So the next one we go into is amino acids. The amino acid program is not just amino acids. You'll find it's misnamed. TK, some of them recommended first onset of cold flu. Yeah. So I might look at that if I knew as much about those homeopathics as Tiffany did, and they're like, oh, it seems like the onset of something. I might run those. I might also re-muscle test myself for something, maybe for me, the oil of oregano would be what I muscle test most for. And actually quite a bit. Interesting. Oil of oregano is great for really powerful anti-pathogenic, and I muscle test for like maybe 6 teaspoons at a time. And it's very good for anything impacting like throat or lungs or different things like that. So thank you for that recommendation. I might make sure I have some in the cabinet and use a little bit for the next day or two. So L-alanine, these are all amino acids. Here's a very good thing, and it's a constant reminder for me. DHA keeps on coming up for me. over and over and over, right? And I've been running this for myself energetically, but it hasn't shifted. As well as, here's a big thing for vitamin D for me as well, okay? I know for me personally, as we start getting into fall and winter, that my vitamin D levels go up quite a bit. And if I'm not proactive in it, I can deal with a bit of seasonal affective disorder, right? I just kind of get in a funk in the winter. If I'm on it and if I'm reminded, I can muscle test myself, either use a lot of vitamin D, muscle test myself, how much for it, right? And so this is another reminder again, I'm like, okay, yeah, I forgot. I'm supposed to track down where should I get more DHA, either in my diet, right? Or supplement it, okay? So this is how this can be very helpful, and you can run it for you energetically, but if you keep on running this energetically and it doesn't shift, it's like well, the vibration frequency is not gonna cut it. You need to actually go swallow this stuff, okay? Myristic acid. Anyways, L-alanine, 76%. One thing to keep in mind is, since I've been doing so much fasting lately, the amino acids are going to come up quite a bit. I actually have one of the things this did for me is I have a product called Fortigen, which is I don't really technically sell it. It's it's an amino acid product in a very specific blend, and stunningly effective. And I can use that product while I'm fasting. It will work so effectively that I can actually gain lean body tissue while fasting, which technically would seem impossible, but it works. It's pretty freaky. But when I first started doing resonance scans, I'm like, all these amino acids, I need to start. I remembered that I muscle test for this product really well. I need to remember to start being more consistent in taking it. That makes sense. And this will come up pretty high for me right now because of how much fasting I've been doing since Sunday. Okay. Any questions on that? Someone had a question here. I'm sorry. I'm going to go check on what it is. So report. So by that report at 64% is saying the issue that could use improvement, maybe an issue for you. Yes, correct. So the higher percentage is like, it means I need L-alanine more than I need L-serine because the percentage is higher. What is it? It's how much of a resonance I have with this. It's kind of like my physical body going ding, 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 ding. Yes, we love it, right? Super enthusiastic. This is like maybe enthusiasm level for this, right? Again, that's because I need it, right? Not because it's already good. So again, that's why we separate the resonance scan from the aura analysis, because the percentages on the aura are like, oh, all your chakras are at like 85, 90%. Amazing. You're doing great. Right? So it's a different percentage. Okay. Now, if you have a desire, for example, in the aura chakra analysis, there's all sorts of numbers and letters included in there, and they all mean something. And if you ask me what, I don't know. I heard someone say it once, but I didn't learn it good enough to teach you, right? But under the Healy app training thing, there's a video on it. It's like goes into detail on that. And so I knew some people would want it. So I grabbed that video, I put it on YouTube, I put it on the playlist so someone can go to it. So we go to the Australian bush plumflowers. These, for me personally, these are often the ones I like running the most frequencies for myself from. I feel it's the one I feel the most. Now, let's put it that way, sense the most, okay? And here's a simple, if I run microcurrents and I turn it up high enough, I can feel that. My fingers are twitching, whatever, right? When I run vibrational programs, it's not something you feel, but if you pay attention, it's something you sense. What do I mean by that? Oh, a super evil person just walked into a house that you're having a party at. And you're like, oh, who is that person? Did you feel it or did you sense it? Does that make sense? You're like, ooh, it gives me creepy vibes. Exactly. So when you're paying in close enough attention to this, it's like you can get more benefit out of it. That makes sense. Certain people will get more benefit out of it if they're more perceptive. Okay. Run the vibrations on your teenage boy. Good luck, right? Want to run it on your friend who's been a yoga instructor for 20 years and loves going to week-long meditations. Well, probably more likely. Does that make sense? She's paying a lot closer attention, right, than your teenager. Okay. Well, maybe not your teenager. Maybe your teenager is very woke. I don't know, but you understand what I'm saying, right? So this helps to orient oneself in the direction of light at the moment of death. Interesting. That's an interesting one. Softness and sensitivity touch. So this one is actually good for me. I'll give you an insight. My oldest daughter, you know what one of her main goals in life is? That at her wedding, she's going to manage to make me cry. Why? Because I don't cry. Like, I cried when she was born and she held my finger at 2 minutes old. I shed a tear then, and I did shed a tear when I put one of my dogs to sleep a couple years ago. Other than that, nope, not happening, right? That's not necessarily good, okay? Right? This is why I need help with that, right? Does that make sense? So let's go back and do this again. I'm gonna do that, and I'm gonna run it again versus my marriage and see how the recommendations on Australian bush flowers will be different for my marriage as for me individually. All right. Sensitivity, respect, consideration. Oh my goodness, helps men to be aware to allocate quality family time. Yeah. Anyone want to guess what my wife's #1 love language is? Anybody guesses? Any guess? Quality time. Yes, you're correct. So who, in our marriage, no surprise probably that my wife is putting more effort into improving marriage than I am. That's just standard problem with guys, right? And that if of both of us who are making an effort to fulfill the other person's love language, that I'm probably the one who needs to step up their game the most. In what area? This one right here. Allocate quality family time. Why? Because I can perpetually be doing something all the time. Is there ever not a time where people are asking me questions about Healy? No. Right? It's like I need to have more respect and put my phone over there and just because what my wife needs is she needs like this contact right here. I'm not doing anything else. This is sacred space. I'm not going to answer any texts, any phones at all, right? Now you see why that's such a different energetic recommendation on my marriage as on me individually, because it's right there, right? So is this helpful for people so far? All right. So we go back into this, and I'm going to go to myself right here, and Australian gem elixirs. These I like also quite a bit. I would say the ones I feel the most and come up for me most powerfully are the Australian bush plums and the Alaskan gem elixirs currently for me. Okay. 65% promotes precision alignment with higher source of energy and inspiration. Physically author the ability to access, synthesize, and communicate information from other dimensions. Oh, that sounds pretty cool. Tapping into, getting divine inspiration for things. Okay. And again, the next one, grounding, communication, openness, strengthens the connection between the feminine, earth, and forces. And the 5th chakra helps us communicate with vitality, authenticity, and gentleness. All sounds like super cool stuff. I'd like to improve a bit. So then let's do the last one here. Is the actually Schussler salts. I really don't know that much about it. I think that they're really talking about salts which are important as minerals, but also have an energetic importance as well. Okay. And this one, 68%, is the number 22, calcium carbonates. Balancing all disorders, the mineral balance in the body cells, boosts metabolism. So that's one of my main focuses right now, is turning my body back into a fat burning machine. Okay. So yeah, I'd love help with that. Gentle and timely proper healing of neoplastic blood formation. Not really sure what that is. Again, rheumatism shows up again, 58%. Excessive acidity in the stomach for stimulation of metabolism. All sorts of metabolism stuff. Because that's one thing my body is really turning upside down again right now, is shifting my metabolism from carb burning to fat burning. Boom, and shoving it that way. Okay. And so if we go to the last one, I want to talk a little bit about this. So the Chinese I Ching, this is a little more esoteric. If you have people who are more of a conservative Christian background, if they look at this and the definition of it, they're going to freak out. They're like, what? This says this is a Chinese method of divination. What kind of weird spiritual stuff are we doing here? I'm not comfortable with this. Here's what to understand with it. I would call the Chinese I Ching a roadmap and series of suggestions on powerful things to connect to shift certain things in your life. Okay. And rather than calling it divination, I would calling it the ability to tap into your intuition. Like, for example, if I'm trying to figure out, I've got 5 supplements in front of me, I'm trying to figure out which one works best for me. I might go, okay, is it the 2 on the left? Yes or no? Is it 2 on the right? Yes, right? I have different things that are powerful, but I need to know which one I need the most and the most of. Does that make sense? So this is, for me as a practitioner, this can sometimes be very useful in doing energetic work for people or emotional work for people, okay? Because it gives you, especially if something keeps on coming up again. So if my intention is to create a wholehearted, passionate, proactive life, and I run the Chinese I Ching. All right. And this comes up, and I look at this. It says, the one is the dispute, symbolizes the existence of a conflict and should remind us to deal with it in a wise and considerate way. Okay. Totally accurate. Again, it relates back to my marriage, and in a way that I need to be more kinder and considerate of her as we work through things. Does that make sense? So just calling me on it right here, right? I'm like, okay, fine. I'll work on that. It's good to have clarity and good to be reminded of it. Now, I could run the vibrational programs for this. I could also, if I'm a practitioner, like I'm an emotion code practitioner, I could do a lot of muscle testing on what energetic things I need to release or address to deal with this more effectively. Does that make sense? So I could use it both as a roadmap on what energy work to do for people, or I could just run it vibrationally for me, and it could be something I meditate on specifically, okay? Also, it says, symbolizes the decorating, symbolizes grace and describes a time in which outer beauty of things play an important role. That's true. It's like, it was important for me to, like, my drapes fell down the other day. I need to, like, okay, they're sitting there. I need to do that. And you can't have my drapes sitting in the corner of my room in a pile, right? It's not very feng shui in my life and my household. All right. And that is kind of it for the resonance. Again, if we go in here, a couple quick things, you can switch language. If you go into cloud settings, I could change the profile connected to this resonance if I wanted to, right? Will let me, yeah, I can change the name, everything, name, email, address, all of that in there, which would be helpful, I guess, if I wanted to sell this resonance to somebody. I could change it all in there. Okay. Connected cloud devices. This is, this has something to do with, and it's not working at the moment. You see, I got a second resonance for free on the same account, and I have yet to be able to use it as a resonance because I haven't got it, the login to work yet. And I think it has something to do with here. And again, customer service, I have not gotten around to it yet. If I want to back up my master key, this is a good thing to demonstrate to people. if I'm going to save my master key, you see here it's going to give me all sorts of different ways to save it. I could text it to my friend John Griggs. I could text it to my wife. I could go under here and I could email it right there. If I email it to myself, one thing I might do is I might type in here, Master Stephen. All right. Boom. So I'm gonna email that to myself. Okay. Now, if in the future I was trying to find my master key, maybe I lost my device, maybe I had to reset the whole thing, something happened. I'm like, oh, I need my master key again so I can log back into my Healy and get access to all my client information, right? What I can do is I can go on here and I can search in my email. Under Gmail, I go up here, I go search mail, master key. Okay. And right there is my master key, right? It will probably give me a couple people asking me questions about the master key. Again, master keys. For example, my wife has a master key. Samara, if I need to redo her device, right? Here's the master key there as well. Now, I also have saved it. I could save it from my computer. If I go in here, notice how on my thing, I can add to drive. Actually, I don't think I have screen sharing with you guys, sorry. 1 second. All right. So if you look at this file I just pulled up, I can download it to my computer. I can also save it to my drive. And I've got a folder on my drive called master key. Master key, right? And in it, I have Stephen master key, Samara master, right? I can change the name of my master key. You do not want to change the extension name, .json. Don't mess with that. Don't try and open it up. There's nothing you can do with it. It's not something you play around with it. For example, a PDF document says .pdf. A Word document, .doc. So you never want to, if you change the name so you can keep track of it, cool. Don't change the extension of it, because that changes how your computer or how your device uses it and what programs it uses to open it up. So the file content can be the same, but if you change the name of it, the program that needs to look for a blockchain file with your master key, and it goes, well, that's something else. It's not even going to open it. Okay, does that make sense? All right. I'll go back to this. All right, I'm going to see if there's anything else here in the resonance that we want to talk about. All right. So backing up the master key, use mobile data for sync. So here's the thing: if you're not turning on, if you're not connecting your device all the time to Wi-Fi, and you have this off, okay, then you go to reboot your Healy or restart it, and you're like, wait, I unloaded and reloaded the program, and I can't find my client information anymore. Where is it? It's like, well, you were never syncing it to the cloud. So it was only on your device. It never got put on the cloud. So it's gone, okay? So you either need to make sure, and the device will actually tell you that. It will say, oh, if you're not connected to Wi-Fi right now, it won't sync it. But if people blow that off and ignore it and keep going, and then they run an issue where they have to reset their device and then didn't use mobile data connection for sync, yeah, it's all gone, okay? And it's syncing 10% at the moment. Yeah, it's got a lot to sync. Anyways, that's I think that's good for that. I think I I think what I might do is, unless people have questions about this so far, I think this is good for today. And I may do a separate training. It doesn't have to be on a Saturday, a separate training on the compensation plan or on different other aspects, so we don't go too long here. Any questions from anybody on anything? Stop my participant sharing and to going once, going twice. Here's what I'm going to do for people is I'm going to take people off of anyone who wants to can unmute themselves if you like. Going once. Laura, you have a question?
No question. Just want to say that you covered everything and it was extremely helpful for not only myself, but all new people that are going to come on board. So where are we going to find this recording?
So I've recorded it to my hard drive. As soon as it take a little bit to process on my hard drive, then I will upload it to YouTube. And I'll probably put it both on the playlist for Healy device training, since we focus mostly on the device. And I'll also put it under, I think I've got a team training link playlist also. But I'll post it in the group and I'll post it in the link in Telegram as well. So it'll be everywhere.
Good. Thank you.
You're welcome. Anyone have any suggestions on how I could have done this better? Was it too much information? Overload? Did I go too fast? Did I jump around a bit? Tiffany, yes. Love some feedback from you.
No, I thought it was great. Tons of information in for a very, very new, this is my first training, or,
Yeah.
you know, I've been reading, as you know, for a few days, but
bit of a fire hose for you, but
yeah.
Hopefully it didn't
So
overload.
the one suggestion, I know it's a lot more work, but to go into the recording is going to be fantastic, but to maybe even have a list of at 2 minutes we talk about this, so that if you're
That would
going,
be awesome.
you don't have to listen to the whole thing.
I was thinking about that. I don't know if I'm going to get around to that. If someone, as they watch it, if someone wants to write down that stuff, and then I will go through and put the links in. But yeah, that will be great. I may just go back and listen to it on, because you can listen to the YouTube videos on double the speed, and you grab all that. So. And in fact, if someone's watching this and feels inspired, one thing you can do when you're watching YouTube video and you hit share, if you're in the video someplace, it will give you the option to share that part of the video, right? So if you grab the link and you saved it and you wrote next to it, explanation of Aura, right? Then you would have a list of all the links at those specific spots in the video. So if I feel super inspired and have a little extra time, I will do that. But otherwise, if someone wants to take that on, that's how you would do that. But you're right. Then it's super helpful. People go, I want to watch a 2-hour video. That's overload. You know, no one's going to do that. But if they go, oh, I can go to right there, click for this explanation. Yeah. For explanation, for example,
for ongoing.
Yeah, for ongoing, for example, it'd be very helpful. And I might take the time to do that. For example, you know, a link to what to do for the black line on your device. I get that question all the time, right? The question of which is more effective, the vibration or microcurrent, or how high to turn it up, or what programs to start with, or all that. So, yeah. Any other questions? Going once, going twice. I think I'm gonna go up into the mountains.
Stephen, my name is Ellen, and I'm sorry I don't have my camera on because I can't figure out how to make it work this morning. It was early. Thank you so much for everything. This has been fantastic. Such a wealth of information. I do have a question as far as all the different programs that we have. We have a great explanation book for that, you know, I've downloaded and can look through. But is there the same thing for the watch and all the digital nutrition and all of that? Is that somewhere that I just am not computer savvy enough to find?
What you might look for is, and let's see if we can find it. I'll tell you what I would do if I was trying to find that. I would go onto Healy and go into my back office. And I would go over here for tools. And a couple things. I would go to downloads. And then I would search over here in watch.
And there are some great videos that I watched, all of the different videos.
So here's a watch menu for the US and one for in English, non-US. So it may be an indication that the programs that are available to you in the US are a little different. So if I downloaded that, let's see how big this is. 26-page document, pretty extensive.
There it is.
Reminder, heart rate, workout history, HRV. Yeah. So lots of information in there. Hopefully it will also give you more of an explanation of this. But keep in mind, what the watch does is it kind of tells you what programs to use based on the biometric stuff you're going through, right? You may test your heart rate variability and might go, whoa, you're a little stressed out, Ellen. How about some heart rate variability programs to reduce your stress, right?
Currently running that right now.
There you go.
For real. But see, okay, so it doesn't have I was just curious to know. I knew that Sadie had told me that you had the watch as well, and I thought maybe there was that really quick and easy. I love the.
Yeah.
I love that thing. But I couldn't find it, so I didn't know if maybe gives the little detail.
I don't see anything. So the other thing I might do is I might go in here and I might go under My Academy. And when I go down here to product know-how, and this will be.
That's where I found all the videos. That are great. Okay. Yeah. Definitely recommend those.
Yeah. You might, let me check on my phone here. I'm gonna see if I open the watch program and I go to settings, data sharing, feedback, language, info. Yeah, I don't see, well, actually, if I click on my Healy watch.
And that's okay. I don't want to take up any more
of your time. A link to program list. There's not.
Okay. Well, I don't want to take up any more of your time. I just thought maybe you knew.
I don't. Yeah.
Something that I didn't.
Yeah. I like to watch. I'm currently letting my youngest daughter use it because she's not sleep well, and as she started to use it, it does give an indication that she has very low percentage of deep sleep, and I'm like, okay, we gotta fix that. So that's good.
I just got this yesterday and I spent the entire day watching videos, playing with it. I do recommend it to everybody.
Yeah.
And I had the digital nutrition app before the watch even came in. So just for everybody on the call, if you're even considering it, all of this has been a leap of faith for me. And God has not disappointed, not in one bit of this. So if you're even considering that, the watch and the bundle and all of that, I highly recommend it.
Awesome. Yeah, I think I'm going to go back and renew my subscription to the digital nutrition because I think it's one of the things that really helped my eyes. So here's a simple tip for you. Okay, I'm going to give you a quick tip. Cords and stuff, and it's a mess, and it's all over the place, right? So how do you manage all this craziness? Okay, here's my tip for you. You take the straps and put them face to face, all the Velcro. And I go like that. And then I bend it like this, and I open up part of it, and I grab the straps, and I just wrap it around here. And then I take the top part, and I put it back over the top. And there you go. So that's not a mess all the time, right? Because anyone else frustrated about untangling cords? You have to need a whole frequency program just to de-stress from that. So that's what I do. The other thing I do is I have these nice, they're Ziploc bags, but they're really high quality and they're nice and they're about this big. And since I have what I'll do is in that bag, I will put my Healy. I'll put a small tube of the electrode gel, some sticky pads, and the wrist straps, and maybe a charging cord. And then I have all my Healy stuff in one space. Especially important if I have an extra device that I want to lend to somebody. I'm like, okay, here's your baggie. It's got everything in there, the charging cord, the gel, everything on one nice, neat little package. So that's another recommendation for people as well. So anything else people have questions on? Going once, going twice. Bless all you people. I appreciate you. Have a fabulous weekend. Thank you for all your patience as the devices, we have app issues and we'll work through it. If you want to be encouraged, Google iOS, iPhone, like I think I've told you that before, 243 million hits. Even now, even the newest update, people are like, oh, I have many issues. It's a thing, right? Is it frustrating? Of course. But it's like, it's just what happens, you know, and you take a deep breath and you redo it and your phone, they eventually fix it and it's working again. You know, I mean, Apple has $53 billion in the bank. Well, actually probably a lot more than that. And so they still have stuff, sometimes technical stuff that they launch and it doesn't work properly. So it happens. Anyways, bless all of you people. Have a great weekend. Bye-bye.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
You too.